I want to sort of, my first interaction that I can remember with him, I want to sort of point out because it's an important connection, is we met at an event at Accenture, and then we were talking about the work that was about 2 or 3 months before we started our first data science for social good program. And I was talking to him about, we're running this program in Chicago, but we really need senior technical people to come and work with us this summer, for the entire summer. And this person was really excited about coming here, who works at Accenture, but I'm not sure if she can take the summer off. And Narendra said, let me see what I can do. And in a couple of weeks, he was able to move things around. So one of our first mentors, Elena, she was able to take 3 months leave from Accenture and come over full-time to Chicago from California and spend the summer with us to be one of our full-time technical mentors. So that was kind of my first interaction with him where, it's not just about Accenture. Personally, he cares about a lot of the social issues we're doing. He keeps asking about, are there organizations I can go to after I'm done with Accenture, where I can be helpful with the skills I have, which is what we all sort of care about, right, personally. So with that, I want to turn it over to Narendra to share his thoughts about data and social good.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks.
You want to go with the, let's wait. Let me talk a little and then we'll run the video, okay? Firstly, I guess I got to use this.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, everybody. And wow, when Ray said he's holding a small conference, I thought a few people would show up, but apparently we had to stop. We had to stop accepting more people coming in just because of all the demand out here. I'm really personally delighted to be here. There are a few of my team members here. I'll introduce them. As you know, Ray was at Accenture, many of you know, a while ago. And while it's been almost 10 years, amazing, right? We still very much stay connected to him and follow everything he's done in a big way because it's very inspirational for us, right? He was a pioneer at Accenture. He's been a pioneer in the use of data science for social good for the last decade. And what I'm going to share with you today is a story very much about how this ability and intent to be able to use data, transparency, data science, to be able to work miracles for different groups, societies, those that are in need, is not just something that's in the nonprofit world. I'm going to share a few stories with you about what we have been proud to either sponsor or partner at Accenture, and some of the lessons we've had along the way. So just to mix it up, there'll be a couple of stories here that you will relate to because they're very much about social services or human services, but there are also a couple of commercial stories that will bring to life for you how the whole area of data science is driving some powerful opportunities in sustainability and resources across the world, and which we are fortunate to be a part of. Throughout the day, I think a couple of our leaders from Accenture are going to take part. Athena Kanura, who's in the back row as usual, is our chief data scientist. She's going to take part in the panel, and Kudo-san, who is not here yet, on his way. We used to be in the data science team, or the chief data scientist for Bloomberg when he was the mayor, and is now very much part of our data science team. He leads most of our most innovative work, is also going to take part in the panel and present later. So, some of the stories I'll share with you, these are definitely not top-down stories. We have about 2,000 people across Athena's team and Kudo-san's team that very much are committed to data science, and many of the stories I share are their stories, along with our partnership with our labs, which is called Accenture Technology Labs, which is actually where Ray came from. So I'm going to run a video first. I think it'll bring it to life, and then we'll talk a bit. Hopefully this will work. Yep.
India has the largest population of the blind. From past 65 years, we have been empowering the visually challenged persons to bring them in the mainstream society with the assistive technology, and we have employed people in the mainstream industry like banking, telecalling, medical transcription, and all other aspects where we can bring them in the mainstream society.
Accenture is co-innovating with National Association for Blind, India, to build guided assistive solutions leveraging latest artificial intelligence technologies. Accenture has developed an accessibility solution called Drishti. Drishti is an acronym for disambiguating real-time insights for supporting humans with intelligence. Drishti also means vision, and it helps blind people derive insights that enhances the way they live and work. The solution leverages multiple industry-leading artificial intelligence services from Microsoft and others to describe the world around the visually challenged person. Accenture Labs research in natural language processing is used to aggregate, disambiguate, infer, and generate a coherent narration of the world for the visually impaired.
This solution leverages some of the latest artificial intelligence technologies as well as natural language processing, and it gives the blind people a real-time insight of what's happening around them.
It is a dream come true for blind people. This software will enable us to see the world which we were unable to see previously.
Drishti helps identify objects around the user.
Analyzing the scene. I think there is a cell phone on the table. On deeper analysis, I think it is a black Samsung Galaxy Android phone.
The solution provides natural language generation capability to describe the scene to the visually challenged person. Drishti also narrates English text from printed books and documents using optical character recognition.
Analyzing the scene. I think it is a book on a table. On deeper analysis, it is God's own kitchen book.
The solution uses human-centric design principles and can integrate with smart glasses like Pivot Head to support the visually challenged with information with just a tap on the mobile screen.
Scene capture. Analyzing the scene. I think it is a white sedan.
Smart glasses like this have a camera inbuilt, and then it becomes very interesting because it will talk via Bluetooth to the accessibility solution, and then all you have to do is wear this glass, and as you tap on your cell phone, you can see and hear more about the world around you.
It was very difficult for me to identify the glass doors which are there in these corporate buildings, and I used to bang on those glass doors. But now with the solution created by Accenture, helps me to identify those glass doors.
Analyzing the scene. There is a glass door in front of you.
And with the support of this solution, I can walk into those doors without hurting myself.
The solution can be used to describe the close surroundings.
Analyzing the scene. 2 people were detected. Age 37.3 years old male who is smiling, and 35.2-year-old male who is smiling.
The solution also incorporates responsible AI by ensuring data privacy and not storing any images internally. Drishti can also be used to identify new Indian currency notes, which is often confused with lower denomination notes by the blind.
After demonetization, it has become very difficult to identify the currency, but the solution supports me even to identify those new currencies, which is very, very helpful so that I cannot be cheated.
Analyzing the scene. I think this is a 500 Indian rupee note.
We are very happy to say that this is a solution a lot of people are using, and they are feeling that they're getting more empowered to lead a normal life.
I can say that this software is a drishti, like it is a true vision for us. I must thank all developers of this software. I must congratulate them for taking this step to make our lives meaningful and fulfilling.
Okay. So this was a program run by our labs in India. And the reason I wanted to share it with you is we're just seeing a tremendous amount of opportunities to bring together digital artificial intelligence and data science capabilities. Hello, can you guys hear me? To be able to drive such programs. This program's been very successful. Sanjay actually won an Eisenhower Fellowship to help continue to drive his work as well as the lab's work in this program. And it has been tremendously inspiring to be able to bring such programs into bear. So I'm going to share some thoughts around how we're seeing this. Someone may have to help me. Is this it?
No, I think it's I think maybe on the desktop.
Sorry, I'm not in the right place here. Sorry about that. There we go. Take some work. Thank you. I think this is the philosophy really behind what many of you all are looking at, right? Problems really, oh, here it goes again. It won't go away. Let me, here we, hopefully I can get past it. Yeah, that many of you all have taken on their problems rarely go away if ignored. And what's very powerful about the new set of technologies is that the ability to harness them and to be able to deploy them for good doesn't require huge programs, right? The team in India that worked on the NAV program was about a half a dozen people, and today it's being deployed to all visually impaired people that are part of the NAV program in India, which is over. This is kind of running on its own, and I'm not looking for that. Sorry. I'm not used to this process here. Okay. I also wanted to share a couple of other stories and then talk about some of the discussions that Raid and I have had about what it takes to be able to bring such programs into production. Because part of what we're very focused on is, sorry, okay, hello, one of these days. We're very focused on is not just, I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep this thing, it's got a life of its own. Okay.
We can get some consultants too.
Yeah. I think it's a test, right, today. And anyhow, part of our real opportunity over here is to bring things into production. As I said, I'll share a couple of stories with you. I wanted to share the story around what we're doing with the visually impaired. But here's a story which is completely commercial, which I think y'all would find interesting too, because this was an opportunity brought to us by one of the largest plantations in Southeast Asia. And these things are pretty large. So this plantation was about the size of the 5 boroughs plus a part of northern New Jersey put together. 5 boroughs of New York plus the size of northern New Jersey put together. They had a team of botanists, about 50 botanists, and they had about 1,000 field workers. And for a land mass that size, the challenge over there was, thank you, that they were always chasing problems, right? Whether there's smuggling going on, right? Trees are being felled, or whether there's a flood, or there's diseased trees, etc. The ability for them to be able to actually address those issues, I'm sorry, it's taken a life of its own, so let it go. Those issues was really hard. Maybe you just want to black it out and I'll talk, okay? I think that'll be better, okay? So they came to us and they said, hey, we have the plantation. We've all heard about data science, artificial intelligence, etc. Is there something you can do for us to be able to really use the new technologies to be able to get ahead of some of the challenges in managing such a plantation? And it was one of the early programs that we took on that would allow us to engage data science at scale to be able to solve a problem. So what we did with them is we first worked with them to get a fixed wing drone to take a video of a part of the plantation, and we trained the machine on the video, right? We labeled it, we worked with the botanist to understand sick tree, young tree, right? Tree that's showing problems, etc. Signs of felling where there shouldn't have been one, signs of flooding, etc. And we built up a whole machine around how we could use the video to be able to give the botanists a real-time view within a day of what is going on across the plantation. The machine was very successful. The tests were very successful. We expanded that out to run the fixed-wing drones on a production basis across the plantation. And essentially now, we built a machine which allows us to be able to take the video and every week or so, in 6 hours, it's processed and it creates apps, it creates inputs for the botanists on their iPads to be able to identify where they need to be focusing the field workers and where there are opportunities for them to be able to get ahead of problems or where there are diseases, etc. Because it's a fundamental shift from being able to chase problems in the field to be able to be empowered and to be able to look at the opportunities to drive value. The results have been very powerful, right? The results have been that the field workers and the botanists, for the first time, they feel empowered rather than chasing problems, because now they have a view of what's changing from a week to week. They can predict, they can prescribe, but most importantly, they have been able to increase their productivity, as they say, by over 1,000%. They stopped counting, right? And the reason I share that one with you is that there were two challenges there. One is to make sure that we can get such a solution into production at scale. But the second challenge over here is we're working with botanists and field workers in Southeast Asia. And so what we also had to solve for was, how do we make sure that there is a user interface and a process for them which they feel empowered by, rather than they feeling like they were challenged by. One of the big observations we have is that, as we've gone down this path, and we've gone down the path both in the commercial world as well as in the world of social good, the big opportunities are not just going to be in identifying the issues, but the big opportunities are going to be around how do you actually take such models and such insights and be able to put them into production from a technology basis. And the second big opportunity is what we call very fundamentally machine re-engineering. And so the first one about putting it into production, right? As I'm sure all of you are very committed to finding the insights and working with your teams to be able to work to understand how you can intervene. Whether, you know, the other day we were talking to one of the states who's being really challenged by being able to identify potential vulnerable people for the opioid crisis. It's one thing to identify, it's another thing to affect. And so you clearly need to have a technological infrastructure, both from a data perspective as well as a UI perspective, that allows you to take those insights and turn it into action on the front line. And we are very focused on it. I don't want to get too detailed over here. We'll be glad to talk about it in any of our forums. But the ability to get from insight to action is something that requires a lot of thought and frankly, some good technological expertise in solutioning to be able to get there. The second one, which is more subtle, is the interaction between the individual that was always responsible for a process, whether it's a care worker on the front line, it's a captain in a police force, or it's a botanist out in the field, right? The process fundamentally changes now when you bring machine learning into play. Because in the past, all insights would go to the human. The human would decide what action to take, and that action would then flow through human intervention. Once you bring in a machine learning-based system, the machine itself is going to recommend and often act on the insights it has. And that changes the relationship between the human and the process that they've always been responsible for and much more in control of, right? While the new approaches to machine learning and AI turn to augment individuals in a very productive way, as you saw in that NAB video, when it comes to workers on the front line, I think we have a responsibility to as much focus on helping them adjust to a new way of working as we have to bring them the insights in the first place, right? So, you know, I will not bore you with my out of control deck over there, but we've had multiple opportunities, both in the commercial world as well as working with NGOs and governments across the world, to be able to apply data science and artificial intelligence to be able to move issues at scale across the globe. A couple of others that I could share. One of the ones we're most proud of is to working with an NGO in West Bengal in India, another India example, where you know, one of the challenges in India is that over 200,000 young girls go missing every year, and they go missing because either they are being sold for trafficking, or they are sent into child labor, right? And in addition to that, one of the real challenges over there is child marriages, right? Is marriages before age. And social workers who are deployed out in the field, the challenge in India, as in many places, is they're overwhelmed by the number of cases they have to cover, right? So even in West Bengal, which is a pretty populous state, while there was a real intent by the government as well as social workers to be able to identify and to be able to intervene early in such a program, the ability to do so was just simply overwhelming. So what we did in partnership with the NGO is build an app for them that allowed them to collect key inputs or predictors of vulnerability to such environments across schools, right? So they would, as they would come in touch with young women, they could pick up data on observations on whether they're socially isolated, are they part of a group, are they one in a family or many in a family, etc. And we built a machine learning model to be able to predict vulnerability to such, either trafficking or child marriage, et cetera, et cetera. And what we did is we worked with them to essentially give them a prediction engine that would help them identify, of the hundreds of people they talk to, kids they talk to, which are the 4 kids that they should proactively intervene on. Now, that was fantastic. They were very appreciative of it, and they are actually continuing to look for more input over there. But again, the real effort didn't come in creating the machine learning model. The real effort came in making it consumable by the social workers and giving them the environment that suddenly allows them to move from what they were, which is a reactive world, to being in a proactive world. So I think I've taken enough of your time this morning. I really appreciate the opportunity. We appreciate the opportunity to be part of the Data Science for Social Good movement. There are many of us in the room here, and I hope we get a chance to interact with you. So thank you, Wright. Thank you.
Maybe we could open taking a couple of questions from people.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. People with questions. We'll have somebody running the mics, I think. Are there people with mics?
I can project. My question is, how did you all source these projects? Like specifically the one you just spoke about with the schoolgirls in India. How did you all become connected with that group to be able to facilitate the work you did?
So you're asking how we source projects? Yeah. We really allow our local leaders to engage in firstly, we have a corporate citizenship program that enables our local teams to be able to source projects. But our approach over here, and you'll see, is been very much to allow our local leaders, either in technology or data science, be able to reach out into the community, identify where we can make a difference, frankly, and be very entrepreneurial about it. Kudo-san, is Kudo-san here? Is our data science leader for Japan, and he'll talk about a project that he worked on in the Saga Prefecture, which is like a county to be able to reduce response time in 911 calls. So we're very, we kind of have an overall policy as to the kinds of projects we'll engage in, but then we really federate it out and let every team do what they can do, because it works much better that way. Yep.
So for the plantation in Southeast Asia, when you were taking the video, how did you account for the weather changes so that you could predict, let's say, a flood? So when it's cloudy, the video might be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Machine learning algorithms.
Yeah, we had to make a bunch of transformations on that data. I'll be glad if you drop me a note. I'll be glad to share with you the methodology we use. Interesting, we actually had to use, this shows you the ability to move between different worlds. We actually, and Kudo-san developed, with his team, developed the methodology. We had to use the same methodology in a completely different case where we were using video from casino tables to figure out whether, what the betting size was. And the challenge over there was that the sun, the light would shift over the months because the casino was in the north, and therefore it would throw off the deep learning engine. But again, we came up with a set of transformations that normalize for such shifts, and that's been tremendously helpful in improving the accuracy. Glad to share that methodology with you. Yes. Yes.
I'll bring the microphone to you.
Hi, I'm just wondering what was the process of convincing Accenture that these were worthwhile projects to get involved in? I assume Accenture is not making much money on them. And specifically, what advices would you give to individuals in other companies who may be interested to convince their companies that they should get involved in such projects?
Okay, this is who we are. So I get the fact that we are a proud company in terms of our commercial success, but having this as part of our culture and ethos has been there since Accenture was a partnership 20, 30 years ago. I mean, right, I can't put it any other way. It's not like, we clearly have a commercial commitment, right? But we're very committed to being part of whatever society we're in as a source for good. Because we believe, it's not just on the data science side, we believe that being engaged in the community is the way that keeps us very relevant and actually allows us, right? Because we have these, we believe, I'm sure as you do, we have these incredible skills to bring insight and transparency on the data science side. So I'm going to answer your question very quickly. I know that we're going to run out of time by asking my friend Athena, give your point of view. How do we do, why do we do these projects? How do we do them, right? Do we have to convince the firm?
Well, no, we don't have to convince the firm. Actually, we have, this is what keeps our people motivated, our data science across kind of the different locations, because they do enjoy working in their local geography and helping the wider community. So if you were to think of where our people sit, besides the, I would say the big markets, we have people that are in India, in Africa, in Brazil, in Mexico, and they want to give back to the community. So of course commercial is a very big aspect of what we're doing, but we always find time to work on this type of projects because this is what keeps us motivated. So never the company, whenever we've asked to work on this type of engagements, they said no. Actually we encourage our people to do so. That's why we have programs that we rotate our people to work on social good type of projects versus commercial engagements.
So,
this is one of the first
in summary, Athena, Taco, and I, we've got to deliver a commercial plan back to the firm. But what we do with the rest of our capabilities and time are up to us. And kudos on when he's on, will share his story. I'm sure he's on a panel. He'll share his story about what we did in Japan at the Saga Prefecture. So you'll get a sense of how we work. We're glad to talk to you more about it and how it's very much a part of culture here. I think I've got to hand the mic off. Thank you, Ray.
No, but this is a good topic, and we do have a panel in the next session exactly on this topic is what are the motivations for the private sector to do this type of work and what roles can they play? So bring these questions again when other people are there. So with that, I want to thank Narendra, and I want to turn it, thank you very much for the talk. I want to turn it over to Joe Walsh, who is going to run the next lightning session.